And it was like this thing. Meri and I broke up. Can I have that stuff back?
My plan has been to cut this up and give it back to him.
Hello everyone and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. Today we are talking about Mykelti and Tony's live stream on January, what was the date? January 8th. So they were talking about season 19, episode 16. Of course, that was the episode where Meri cut up the quilt. I was very interested in seeing what Mykelti thought of that. I actually haven't watched very many of her live streams recently. I just was taking a break from being online as much, but I was interested in this one. We know how she feels about Meri, but I did wonder what her thoughts were on this quilt. I wanted to see if she thought it was petty. So that's what we're going to talk about today, as well as some other stuff that she mentioned. So I took notes and I'm just going to work through those in order. The first thing that was brought up that I found kind of interesting was actually from the comment section during the live stream. It got to the part of the show where Cody mentioned that they might need a life light out to the property. And I really was like, this isn't a big deal. This is just one of those things I thought was kind of funny. Some of you did as well, but it wasn't significant that he mentioned the life flight. I mean, the actual issue was that she had an accident. But some of the people in the comment section were bringing up the fact that when Mykelti fell off of the horse and that fall was more serious or appeared to be more serious, they were not making it into that big of a deal. There was another comment that said, your dad wants to get a life flight out for this, but then he wants to put off a serious spinal surgery for one of his kids. And that's true. I think over and over again, we have watched Cody minimize accidents, minimize how serious health issues are with his children. I mean, look back at Truly and the kidney issue. It was really his daughters that were noting how sick she was. I just really appreciated the comment section during the live stream and the way they were not going to let that go. You know, Cody over and over again seems to fail his kids in all sorts of different ways, but some people are really good at recalling all of them. I actually start to forget them. Like, I forgot about Mykelti falling off the horse. I did. So I was impressed with that comment section, pointing all of that out to her. Of course, Mykelti is a bit of a daddy's girl. She likes to be a peacekeeper. So she actually said, you know, she didn't feel like there was any issues. When she fell off the horse, she knew that she didn't need to go to the hospital. She said that, I believe it was Janelle's mom, had some nursing experience. I'm not 100% sure if it was Janelle's mom. I believe so, though. Janelle's mom had some nursing experience, and she, you know, checked her out as well, and they just didn't think the hospital was necessary. So Mykelti went to a chiropractor, and Mykelti is fine with that. But I do wonder, you know, if she has any feelings about the way her dad has responded to her siblings needing medical care versus how he has reacted to Robyn and Robyn's children needing medical care. Another part of this that really surprised me was when Mykelti was talking about how Robyn has gotten good about helping Cody communicate. So Mykelti is telling everyone during this live stream that Robyn, you know, corrects him because he can be, you know, Cody can be sort of harsh in the way he speaks sometimes. So Robyn will come in and be like, this is what you said, but this is what they heard. So she sort of does the Cody speak where she translates for him. You know, it's really funny to hear Mykelti talking about how positive that is, how Robyn's a good communicator, and this is a helpful thing, right? Someone is there to explain to Cody what he is saying is harsh and help the communication happen. But then when we see the wives, the original wives, the now ex-wives, they talk about how that got annoying and how they didn't need that. And they had been with Cody for years before Robyn entered the picture. So I did find it interesting that Mykelti felt like this was really helpful, while we know the wives don't find that nearly as helpful. I mean, this is one of those things where I think it is the relationship that makes the difference. When you're with your partner, with your husband or your wife, you don't want someone in the middle of that being involved in your communication all the time. But with the kids, if they're already struggling to communicate with a parent, it might be nice to have someone else sit there and sort of help out when things get a little rough between them, right? The issue is, can Robyn do that without influencing things to work in her favor and in the favor of her children? Can she be fair and really help Cody work on things with his own kids? I'm not so sure about it. There was a part of this where I felt like Mykelti's attitude about this episode shifted. And if you were watching that live stream, or even if you watched it later, let me know if you noticed this. When Mykelti was watching it, there was a part where Meri mentioned something Cody had said to her. I'm going to put the clip in here so that you can see it. But I'm going to tell you what Mykelti said about it. She said this was BS. She did not believe that her father said this. Here's the clip I'm talking about.
He said this to me. Listen, you've been hard to live with. You've been mean. And so now I am going to be this way to you, and you're just going to have to deal with it for 20 years.
Mykelti immediately said this was BS. She did not seem to believe that this was something Cody would say. I don't think Cody said it in those words. I think Meri is, rephrasing it here. But I'm not surprised anymore by anything Cody says, really, at all, because we know how mean he can be. So I was surprised that Mykelti wouldn't believe that he would say that. That was surprising to me. After all we've heard him say about his relationships with his ex-wives, about his own children, I couldn't believe she would say that was BS. But the part that was kind of funny was she says it's BS, and then we turn around and see the clip of Cody saying this.
I wasn't saying the because I was mad at the time. I was saying it because I was mad enough to tell the truth.
So Cody acknowledges that he really said it, but Mykelti goes as far as saying toward the end of the live stream, she would like to know what the producers actually asked him. Does he know that is what Meri had said? Or did they ask him about something else he said and they put that clip in? Like, Mykelti does not believe that he told Meri that. Before Cody admitted to saying that in the confessional, Meri had went on and said that Cody would say things he really didn't mean when he was angry, and she also acknowledged that she was hard to live with. So I sort of felt like they were both telling the truth. Like, I believed that it was said. I believed that Meri was hard to live with. Cody acknowledged it. I just was surprised that Mykelti found it hard to believe. With all of that being said, we know that Mykelti and Meri do not have a relationship at all anymore. It's not really that surprising to hear Mykelti try to stick up for her dad and say that Meri's not telling the truth because she doesn't like Meri. And it was brought up during this live stream. Like, Mykelti was honest about it. And so that's going to kind of play a role. Like, if you get to go watch that live stream, you can see she is not happy with Meri when she goes to cut the quilt up. Mykelti says that Meri is being petty. She feels like this was something that was done out of spite. Tony actually tries to reason with her a little bit and goes through some of the comments and makes the point that, Meri's shirts were on there as well. So she wants her own shirts. Your dad asked for the shirts back. So she was giving him those shirts back. Tony was being reasonable. Mykelti was like, this was petty, this was spiteful, but she had just got done saying that everything Meri said was BS, so I felt like she was just in that zone where she wasn't going to see it any other way. When she is talking about Meri, there's a part of this where she says, no one involved in the show will ever know what Meri did to them. Those kids are not going to tell anyone involved in the show. When the show is over, maybe if one of them sits down and writes a book, then we'll know, but it is not going to be told on this show. When the idea of a book is brought up, someone in the comments section brings up the fact that, Meri might be writing a book. I think this is something Meri has sort of hinted at for a long time. I don't know if she's actually really doing it or how far along she is in that. I don't know if it'll be about the family. I don't know. But she sort of teases viewers with that. She'll hold up a book and say, we're going to know her side of the story. Meri does that stuff. But anyway, someone in the comment section brings that up, and Mykelti says that Meri's book will be half lies. Yeah, that's how that live stream was going. Meri was definitely in the doghouse. Again, not super surprising. Another thing that Mykelti mentioned involving this quilt, though, that I did find kind of interesting was the fact that, you know, these kids wore some of these shirts when they were growing up. So she sort of implied that it was sentimental to them, but they were cut up in a quilt years and years and years ago. We're way past the idea that Cody can give his kids his old shirts. So I don't really know what Mykelti was trying to say. If they wanted to save shirts for all their kids, they needed to plan on doing that like 25 years ago. We're way past that. You know, and if she's so attached to these shirts and the other kids are as well, why weren't they discussing what they were going to do about this already? I don't know. I didn't take that part of it too seriously, but she did bring that up. One more thing before I end this video. Mykelti got to the part of the show where Cody brought up the fact that he had had relations before marriage. She was not thrilled to hear this. She said he was being a hypocrite. She said she didn't want to hear all of this. She thought it was sad that her mom and Janelle had learned about this at the same time as the rest of the world. So she was kind of upset. I thought it was interesting that she was saying she didn't want to hear this about her dad, but this stuff was discussed on the show. Like, we heard them talk about what they were wanting for the kids and the family when it came to waiting until marriage. We heard Robyn's story. Robyn gave her whole lecture about waiting until marriage and how, you know, purity was important, and she had a locket and she like tossed it to the ground, and it was all very dramatic, at least to me. Purity culture was a huge thing for them. I understand Mykelti saying he was a hypocrite, but she's like, I don't want to know this about my dad. I'm like, they were talking about this about all of you guys on this show. You should have a problem with that in general. I would have been horrified as a teenager if I was on a show and my family was talking about all of this. Yeah. I think anytime someone has to go in the public and they're young and have stuff like that shared, or they have to listen to lectures about it and they're put on a show, that's embarrassing. Teenagers don't like having these conversations as it is, but when it's brought up and then aired for the world to see, it's just too much, in my opinion. Now, Mykelti points out that when Cody found out that she was living with Tony, that was something he was upset about. So that's just an additional layer to Cody being a hypocrite. So Mykelti was really shocked to learn that, but I have to admit that it didn't even faze me. But I think that's because I'm so used to Cody trying to manipulate things or being dishonest. Even though I should have been surprised by that, I wasn't. I don't even know if I mentioned that part of the show when I did my recap, because it wasn't that surprising to me. But you guys can let me know what you thought about all of that down in the comments. If you haven't already, I hope you'll go ahead and click like and subscribe and come back here to Happily Ever Reality.